Every real scientist understands that science, no matter how advanced it becomes, will always have its limits. It's one of the greatest tools humanity has ever built, but it's still only a tool. The moment someone starts believing that science is the only reliable way to discern truth, they've stopped thinking like a scientist and started thinking like a follower of scientism. And the ancient discoveries we're going to look at in this video are a perfect reminder of that. Despite decades of research and debate, they still perplex scientists and raise questions without any clear answers. Number 15. The Forbidden Stones of Shaman. When archaeologists were excavating near Boquete, they didn't have any plans to discover one of Panama's oldest spiritual mysteries. Pottery shards and ordinary burials were the expected discoveries, but they came across a collection of smooth stones that was resting beside a human skeleton. These 4,000-year-old stones were never dismissed as fancy objects. Many experts think they belonged to one of the region's earliest shamans and were placed in the grave for a reason. And strangely, the stones weren't formed from local material, meaning someone had carried them from elsewhere before they were finally buried. Why go through that effort unless they held unusual importance? One interpretation suggests they were used during sacred ceremonies, perhaps alongside powerful plant medicines to reach altered states of consciousness. Others see them as healing objects or tools believed to link the living with the spirit world. There's also a theory that they were intentionally buried because people feared the power they were thought to possess. But the truth is gone with the people who built and buried them. Number 14. The Clad Hallen Mummies in 2001. Archaeologist Mike Parker Pearson and his team found something grand while digging the Bronze Age settlement of Clad Hallen on South Uist. Beneath 3 roundhouses nearly 3,000 years old lay 4 bodies buried in the fetal position. That wasn't especially weird. What shocked them was finding that these people had been deliberately mummified, despite Britain's damp climate making natural preservation almost impossible. Scientific analysis showed the bodies had first been placed in peat bogs, where oxygen starved, acidic water halted decay before they were dried, and kept above ground for generations. Then came an even stranger discovery. DNA testing revealed the bodies weren't single individuals at all. The male mummy combined bones from at least 3 different men, while the female also contained remains from multiple people. Some archaeologists believe these composite bodies represented united family lineages. Others see ritual significance behind them. Whatever the explanation, these reconstructed ancestors once shared everyday life with the people who built their homes above them. Number 13. The Magic Hand of Khirbet el-Khalm. No, this isn't an actual magical hand, nor is it some ancient relic capable of granting wishes. What makes it so fascinating is the story carved around it. It was discovered in 2021 at Khirbet el-Khalm in the West Bank, and this limestone inscription is believed to be around 2,700 years old, placing it within the Kingdom of Judah. At its center sits a carefully carved hand surrounded by 6 lines of ancient Hebrew text reading, written by Uriyahu the Wealthy. Blessed be Uriyahu by Yahweh. From his foes, by his Asherah, he saved him. By Abiyahu, by his Asherah. Even after decades of studying similar inscriptions, scholars still disagree about what the hand represents. Some interpret it as the symbolic hand of God watching over the inscription. Others think it marked divine protection. One small carving, but thousands of years later, people are still debating the message its creator intended to leave behind. It's perplexing. Number 12. The Pyramid of Acapana Tiahuanaco earned its place in history centuries before the Inca Empire ever existed. At a time when much of the Andean world was still taking shape, this city had already become a center of power, ritual, and engineering. And nothing reflects that achievement better than the Acapana Pyramid. This 16-meter-tall, enormous stepped monument was far more than a place of worship for the Tiwanaku civilization. They built it with a level of thought and precision that still surprises engineers today. There is a surprisingly sophisticated drainage system designed to control the movement of water throughout the monument. Archaeologists have spent decades debating its purpose. Some believe it supported elaborate religious rituals, while others argue it reflected astronomical knowledge woven into the pyramid's design. Whatever the truth, the engineering itself is mind-blowing. What makes that even more frustrating is how much of the pyramid was later destroyed by Spanish colonists chasing stories of hidden treasures that were never found. Number 11. Anunnaki metropolis in Africa. According to ancient Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki were associated with knowledge, power, and, in some later interpretations, the search for gold. That connection is one reason researchers Michael Tellinger and Johann Heine became interested in a vast network of stone ruins near Maputo, Mozambique. They argue these circular structures belong to an enormous city nearly 200,000 years old, supposedly built by an advanced civilization long before recorded history. Yes, 200,000 years. It's a claim that mainstream archaeology firmly rejects because it conflicts with everything accepted about early human development. Even so, the ruins themselves are not in dispute. Across the landscape are countless stone circles, long lines resembling ancient routes, evidence of old mining activity, and patterns that continue to puzzle anyone seeing them for the first time. Could they belong to a forgotten culture whose history disappeared long ago? Or are people connecting pieces that were never connected in the first place? Right now, both questions remain open, and the African soil isn't giving away its answer. Number 10. The Pyramid of the Niches. The history of Mesoamerica is like a book with several missing chapters, and the Pyramid of the Niches feels as though it belongs to one that was erased before anyone could finish reading it. This uniquely perplexing monument, standing proudly in El Tajnas, has watched decades pass since it was raised around the 8th century AD by the Totonac civilization. Its 6 terraces climb 20 meters into the air. But the feature that has fascinated many historians is its 365 precisely carved niches, matching the number of days in the solar year. Well, that wasn't a coincidence. The arrangement allowed sunlight and shadow to shift across the structure as the seasons changed, leading many scholars to believe it was designed as part ceremonial temple and part astronomical calendar. Even excavations later revealed traces of brilliant red paint covering its exterior, giving the pyramid an appearance far more striking than the weathered stone seen today. A steep staircase still leads toward the temple that once crowned its summit. According to a less widely accepted interpretation, the niches may also have carried symbolic meanings, but who knows? Number 9. The Screaming Mummy of Deir el-Bahari. In 1881, Egyptian officials uncovered a royal tomb cache near Luxor where priests had secretly reburied pharaohs and members of the royal family to protect them from grave robbers. Among them was one mummy unlike any other. Her mouth remained wide open, her hands and feet appeared bound, and instead of the fine linen reserved for royalty, her body had been wrapped in sheepskin, a material associated with ritual impurity in ancient Egypt. For decades, she attracted little attention until modern examinations revealed a far stranger story. In 2024, CT scans led by Egyptologist Sahar Salim suggested she died under extreme physical or emotional distress. Researchers identified signs consistent with cadaveric spasm, a rare condition that can preserve a person's final expression at the instant of death. One interpretation is that she suffered a fatal heart attack brought on by overwhelming trauma. Her identity remains uncertain. Some have linked her to Princess Maridamun, but many others still disagree. Number 8. The Carnix from Tintignac. What are your thoughts about this? We mean this thing looks freakishly terrifying, and that's probably exactly what the Celts wanted. When they marched into battle, they didn't rely on swords alone. Towering war trumpets called carnacies echoed across the battlefield, their animal-shaped heads producing sounds meant to unsettle anyone standing on the other side. For a long time, historians thought they understood how these instruments worked. Then the Tintignac Carnix turned up in France and complicated the whole picture. Crafted from bronze around 2,300 years ago, its internal tube is completely straight, making the upright playing position seen in ancient artwork practically impossible. Holding it sideways isn't much better, especially in the middle of a battle. So why make it that way? Its wolf-shaped bell resembles other Celtic examples, yet the construction follows a different idea altogether. According to one suggestion, it may never have been intended for warfare at all. But something much creepier. Number 7. The Osirion. In 1902, British Egyptologist Margaret Murray was excavating beside the temple of Seti I at Abydos when he found a big stone structure buried beneath it. The Osirion is located below the water table, leaving its lower chambers flooded while a raised central platform stands surrounded by water. From the start, archaeologists realized this wasn't an ordinary extension of the temple above. Its enormous granite blocks came from Aswan, hundreds of miles away, and resemble much older Egyptian construction rather than New Kingdom architecture. Because of that, some researchers have suggested the monument may predate Seti I by centuries, but that idea is still debated. Ancient Egyptian texts describe the Duat as the realm crossed by the sun god before dawn, and some writers believe the Osirion was designed to represent that sacred journey. Others have even proposed astronomical links with Orion, but those interpretations remain outside the archaeological consensus. Whether it was a symbolic monument or a far older wonder, the Osirion continues to challenge one of Egypt's most familiar historical timelines. Number 6. The Varna Necropolis. In October 1972, tractor operator Racho Marinov was digging a trench for an electrical cable on the outskirts of Varna, Bulgaria, when his machine struck several metal objects. Realizing they were ancient, he reported the discovery instead of taking them home. Archaeologists arrived the following year, beginning excavations that continued for more than a decade. Beneath the soil lay 294 graves dating between 4600 and 4200 BC, making the cemetery around 6,500 years old. More than 3,000 gold objects weighing roughly 6 kilograms emerged from the site, the oldest worked gold ever discovered, predating the famous treasures of Egypt and Mesopotamia by well over 1,000 years. Grave 43 drew particular attention. An adult man, believed to have been between 40 and 50 years old, had been buried with more gold than in every other grave combined, suggesting extraordinary status. Yet another puzzle surrounded the cemetery. Several graves contained no bodies at all, only carefully arranged clay masks and valuable offerings. Some archaeologists think they honored people whose remains were never recovered, while some think they held a deeper ceremonial meaning that has long since been forgotten. Number 5. The Aramu Muru Gate in 1996. Local guide Jose Luis Delgado Mamani brought attention back to one of Peru's weirdest landmarks after leading visitors through the Hayumarca Mountains near Lake Titicaca. Carved into a wall of pink andesite is a perfectly shaped doorway measuring about 23 feet high and 23 feet wide. At its center sits a smaller T-shaped recess, 6 feet tall and 2 feet deep, finished with good precision. The strange part is that it leads absolutely nowhere. Behind it is nothing but solid rock. The Aymara people call it Puerta de Hayumarca, or the Gate of the Gods. According to their oral tradition, powerful beings known as Tunupa and Viracocha created gateways linking this world with another realm. One well-known story tells of an Inca priest who escaped the Spanish invasion carrying a sacred golden disc. After placing it into the stone recess, a glowing doorway supposedly appeared, and he vanished forever. No evidence confirms that account, but the site's workmanship, its resemblance to Tiwanaku doorways, and local stories still spark debate. Number 4. The mysterious West Virginia rock everyone knows about, the Waffle Rock. But what many don't realize is that its greatest mystery isn't where it sits, it's how that strange pattern formed in the first place. Stretching across its surface is an astonishing network of intersecting lines that almost looks as though someone carefully carved a giant stone grid. According to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the explanation is entirely geological. The sandstone formed around 300 million years ago before pressure fractured the rock, allowing iron-rich minerals to fill the cracks and eventually harden into the pattern visible today. That certainly sounds reasonable, yet not everyone finds the answer convincing. Critics point out that nature rarely produces such evenly spaced designs, raising the obvious question, if the process is so ordinary, why aren't formations like this scattered across countless other locations? A large section of the original rock now rests beside Jennings-Randolph Lake, where visitors continue reaching their own conclusions every time they see it. Number 3. The tomb of the Princess of Ukok. In 1993, Russian archaeologist Natalia Polosmak led an expedition onto the remote Ukok Plateau in southern Siberia, where frozen ground had protected an untouched burial for almost 2,500 years. Inside rested a young woman now known around the world as the Siberian Ice Maiden. Ice preserved her body so completely that her skin, hair, internal organs, and intricate tattoos survived almost intact. Buried beside 6 sacrificed horses and dressed in fine clothing, she was clearly someone of unusual importance within the Pazyryk culture. Later medical examinations suggested she was about 25 years old and may have suffered from advanced breast cancer before her death. Researchers also found evidence consistent with cannabis being used to ease her pain. The find soon became more than an archaeological story. Many Altai people regarded the burial as sacred and opposed moving her remains, believing that disturbing the tomb would bring misfortune. After earthquakes and other disasters followed, local communities connected those events to her removal, although no scientific evidence supports that conclusion. In 2012, her remains were returned to the Altai Republic. Number 2. The tomb of the Lord of Sipandis was one of the most incredible discoveries ever made in South America. But strangely, it almost vanished before archaeologists ever reached it. In 1987, Peruvian archaeologist Walter Alva was called to Huaca Rajada after looters broke into the Moche Pyramid complex and priceless artifacts began appearing on the black market. Emergency excavations followed, uncovering an untouched royal burial almost 1,700 years old. Resting inside was a Moche ruler surrounded by breathtaking ornaments of gold, silver, copper, turquoise, ceremonial weapons, and finely crafted armor. Yet the treasure wasn't the most haunting part of the tomb. Buried around him were a young woman, 2 warriors, a child, a dog, 2 llamas, and a guardian whose feet had been deliberately removed so he could never abandon his post. Archaeologists later uncovered similar burials nearby, revealing that human sacrifice formed part of the elite Moche funerary tradition. Pottery, once dismissed as symbolic, suddenly looked very different, appearing to depict ceremonies that had actually taken place centuries before. Let's move to number 1. Ranmasu Uyana. Most of us know Sigiriya for its breathtaking rock fortress. But only a short distance away sits a place that has puzzled researchers for years. Inside the ancient royal gardens of Ranmasu Uyana, a circular design has been carved into a granite boulder with astonishing precision. For generations, archaeologists simply recorded it as decoration. Then, in 2003, Sri Lankan researcher Prasanna Bodhinayake looked at it from a completely different angle. Instead of treating it as artwork, he began measuring its geometry. What he found raised far more questions than answers. The carving is made of carefully arranged circles and radiating sections centered around a small drilled hole, a design unlike any known artistic tradition from ancient Sri Lanka. Bodhinayake suggested it could represent a map of the stars rather than an ornament. A later proposal even argued the central hole may have held a specially shaped object during a particular celestial alignment, although no evidence has confirmed that idea. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Take care, and we'll see you soon.